right. All right, so thanks for checking out today's video. My name is Shahidra Kogel, and I'm the Director of Clinical Programs for Frontline Crisis Response Solutions, headquartered in Frisco, Texas, where our mission is to help first responders and their families through our Wellness and Resiliency program. And today we're going to be sharing about some of our services, but more specifically about support services we'll be offering to spouses and families in the new year in 2020. So for our Wellness and Resiliency program, like I mentioned, our mission is really to honor and remember those who have given their lives in service to their communities and to recognize those who currently serve by offering advanced training and confidential support services that enhance resiliency and overall wellness. So many of you know, for emergency responders, the occupational hazards of responding to critical incidents and experiencing others in traumatic situations is an expectation for this line of work. However, healthy coping and asking for help has traditionally been less common within the culture. Common issues that many first responders face range from personal and family stress to post-traumatic stress injuries, depression and anxiety, grief and loss, and that's just to name a few. And all of these issues not only impact the first responder, but they also impact spouses and family members who care for them. On average, research says that about 15% of our first responders are dealing with PTSD, and that's the level of prevalence among our first responders, in comparison to a much lower rate for our general population, which is about 5%. Now, again, that 15% is a range, and it can go as high as a 32% prevalence. And so how this plays out in day-to-day life and what we see in the news is an increased rate of suicide. Unfortunately, in just this year, in 2019, bluehelp.org is a resource that follows this number specifically for law enforcement. And the number of suicides for 2019 as this year closes is at 215. As we know, one is too many. And so who we serve, FCRF serves law enforcement and dispatchers, firefighters, medical personnel, retirees, and we also help spouses and immediate family members. All right. And who I want to bring on today and who's going to be joining us is Lori Barron, who is the founder of the family support team for Evansville Police Department in Evansville, Indiana. Can you say hi, Lori?
Hi.
Hi, Lori. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we're just going to be talking a little bit about Lori's experience and her mission and her passion for family support. And we'll just jump right on into some questions. Can you share a little bit about what your connection is to law enforcement?
Yes. Well, the first thing I want to say is actually this team was developed by myself and Emily Sandulo, another police officer wife. But my husband's been with Evansville Police Department for 27 years, and he just retired a couple years ago.
Fantastic. So you are a spouse and now a retiree spouse?
Yes.
And how long have you been leading and have been a part of the family support team in Evansville?
Well, in 2003, my husband was involved in an officer-involved shooting. And from that incident, he helped develop the peer support team on our department. And then about 2 years later, another officer wife and I developed the family support team.
Awesome. So prior to 2003, is there anything that you wish you knew about being a spouse to a first responder?
Well, the obvious things are, shift work and the holidays and missing events. But even more than that is, even just the negative talk you hear from others about law enforcement, and it could be from your friends and your family or the community.
Mm-hmm.
Getting used to our officers who are more security minded, tactical minded, and just more aware of their surroundings, because, I was so naive and so, caring. I'm a nurse by trade, so, that wasn't my nature to be on high alert all the time.
Awesome. So Lori, that's fantastic. And you said 2003 is when you launched and co-founded really this first responder team. And as we know, this heart missions are often birthed through difficult life experiences. You mentioned your husband being a part of an officer involved shooting. What did you learn from being a part of the family support team that may have been different than what your husband experienced with a peer support team?
Well, I can remember getting the call at 2:00 in the morning from my husband, and it still gets to me every time, and it's been since 2003, but that he had just shot somebody. And that was our conversation, short and sweet. He had just shot somebody. He told me he was okay, but I don't even remember that. And my whole goal was wanting to get down there and see him and make sure he was okay. He didn't know if I could come. He didn't know any of the details. He just said, I can't talk long, I have to go. So I spent a lot of my time calling around. Can I go to the police station? Can I go check on him? At 2:00 in the morning, it's locked up. You can't get in.
Yeah.
So just my nature, I don't want to let things rest. I wanted to go and see him. So luckily another officer let me in the department, and, it was a long process. They spent time with him, but they didn't spend any time with me. And so the next day, it was almost like, who am I going to tell? My husband just had to shoot and kill somebody. Who can I talk to about that? That was my main worry. Not that I thought he did anything wrong. He did what he needed to do. But what would and who can I talk to about this and what I'm going through? He had a lot of support from other officers calling him, but I was worried about him and getting enough rest and going back to work. And I had all my own worries. And he said he didn't even realize till about 3 days later, what I was going through.
So how did you get through that time? And being that it sounds like there were no protocols in place, there were protocols in place for him, but nothing for you. So how did you get through that time?
Well, luckily I knew another officer's wife that was on a different department, and that's who I called. So I reached out to her and talked to her, and that gave me some comfort. And when our peer support team got started, it was really my husband's goal to make the process for an officer shorter, everything they have to go to after a critical incident. And they looked at shootings as critical incidents, but as time has grown, anything that causes undue stress is a critical incident. So what's recognized as a critical incident is a lot more detailed now than it used to be. And now, and my goal was to be able to call that officer's family, and after they had talked to their officer, and check with them. And if they wanted to go downtown and see him, they wanted to go to the emergency room, that I would meet them there, or we would take them there, or we would walk them through the process. So that was my goal, is just to have a liaison, and that was my first goal, just to be there for that family that had a lot of questions.
Yeah. And obviously in doing this since 2003, have you seen that scenario play out again with other wives that you've helped, that they kind of go into needing information, asking certain questions?
Yeah, so, my process now is if our team gets called out to some kind of a critical incident, whether it's a shooting or a car accident, or an officer got stuck with a needle that someone had worried about a disease, any of those things can cause undue stress for the officer or their family. And what causes stress for my husband isn't necessarily what causes stress for me.
Of course.
And so what we do now is kind of, we're proactive. We say, these are some of the, we call them, some of them are not like me. I know that's hard to imagine, that not everybody wants to know everything there is, but even getting used to, you may be the type that is okay with a little information where I want a lot of information. So trying to kind of see what they need, and this is what your officer may go through. This is, in our department, if it's a critical incident, they automatically get 3 days off for their benefit. And it's not a punishment, talking to them about that. They'll get their blood work done on the police department in certain cases. So just let them know ahead of time what they're could be feeling, their husband or themselves, and then follow up with them again in, a couple days.
Awesome. Who serves on your family support team?
Well, currently, right now, it's just officers' wives, but it really could be any officer's family. Just they have to be affected by a critical incident first. They have some experience. Number two is that we just say they need to be on, their husband needs to be, or their family member or their officer needs to be on the department for at least 3 years to have some experience. And, that they're kind of in a stable place in their life.
Sure.
So those are our criteria right now.
So much like a peer support team, but more with spouses.
Correct. Although we have, it's a peer support, we call it a peer support and a family support, but really our family support is a peer support too, because we're peers to the families.
Yes.
We're all peers, but we've also talked to officers too. So we're not just talking to, we know officers too. And so sometimes we talk to them also.
Awesome. In your experience, what are some of the benefits for family members who have accessed this level of support?
Well, they have peace of mind. They realize they're not alone. They have a contact, because what they just went through isn't just a one-time deal in how you feel about things. In my case, since it's an officer-involved shooting with my husband, and he's been in other critical incidents too, but this one is just the one that birthed this program, is that anytime another officer is shot or shot at, those same feelings come back up. So it's not just a one-time deal, it has an accumulative effect. And in my case, even though this happened in 2003, the family member of the person my husband had to shoot and kill was in my cardiac rehab program twice. And then a couple years ago, the little girl of the person that my husband had to kill tried to contact my husband and I, because this person that my husband had to kill, he had just shot and killed the mother of his child. So both of her parents are deceased. So now, as a semi-adult, she's tried to contact us a couple years ago. So to have a contact, knowing that when these things come up again, it's like, okay, Shahidra, I'm going to call you because this is what I'm going through now. And so that I have someone really, really to talk to.
I think that's a wonderful perspective to put in a frame of reference, that this is something that's ongoing, and
Absolutely.
that the family support, even though you may not need it immediately, or you get what you need in the beginning stages following a critical incident, having a support, having one person to call, having a resource down the line, wow, that's phenomenal that's available for family members and for spouses. What types of training have you found to be helpful, knowing that as a family member, there is a level of secondary trauma and stress and vicarious trauma that you experience? What information have you gleaned from that has been helpful for you?
The training in the beginning that we got to be on the team was on critical incident stress management. Mm-hmm. We also went through a COPS training, which was just an overall training of things that our officers could be experiencing: suicide, prevention, resiliency. So we got those kind of trainings initially and then ongoing to be on the team. But mainly for us personally, for our wellness, you know, and that's a great point. Even when you're on a team, you get burnt out. Yeah. And sometimes you have to step back. You just have to get off the team for a while, let someone else do it. You can do things in other ways. So more so now it's being able to talk with other people, and yeah, even though I'm feeling this way right now, maybe they've experienced that too, and taking care of yourself, you know, physically and mentally, getting enough exercise, getting enough rest, knowing when your body's saying I've had enough, yeah, and willing to listen to it.
That is so key, to understand that wellness and resiliency and health, all of that applies to not just your spouse or your first responder, it applies to you too. And really to maintain your lifestyle. Many times within first responder culture, the stress and the not taking care of yourself can bleed over into the relationships, the co-parenting, the marriage, and friend relationships. And so it's so vital to take good care of yourself. For the spouse or the family member who's watching this video, who's right in the midst of the aftermath of a critical incident, what are some of the first steps that you would encourage them to take to get support?
You know, that first off, they're not alone. If they're experiencing something, someone else has probably experienced it too. So not thinking that you're the only one that has gone through this traumatic event. And it doesn't even have to be something that something that seems traumatic to you may not be to me. For example, in my husband's life, that we had a really bad tornado, and that was a lot more traumatic for him than his officer-involved shooting. Mm-hmm. So you're not alone. Talk to somebody. Don't be afraid to reach out, because oftentimes we don't even know what's going on. So if you are aware someone else is going through something, reach out to them, reach out to us. You're not alone. We'll help you get through it. Being in first responders family is not easy. It's not easy by a long shot. We love what they do. It's very rewarding. It's very important, but unless you've been in that situation, your family really can't even understand it, or your friends. So just know that there's people out there for you, and reach out and we'll help you.
Well said, well said. I thank you so much for joining us and for sharing about the Family Support Team. Frontline Crisis Response Solutions is partnering with Lori Barron and this program to bring it here to the Texas area and beyond. And one of our hearts and missions is to educate through trainings and workshops. Right now, we offer a training called Activate Wellness that is a way for first responders to actually incorporate and practice the wellness strategies that can help them in the day-to-day of their life. But it's also inclusive of spouses and family members to come and learn some of those same strategies to use for themselves. But in the future, as we move into 2020, we'll be offering specific trainings on post-traumatic stress, trauma recovery, and maybe even some critical incident stress management courses for those who want to join our team. So I thank you so much for sharing such key information. One of the best ways to get a hold of us, if this video has been helpful to you, you can check us out online at frontlinecrisisresponse.com. You can also check us out on Facebook under Frontline Crisis Response. And then you can call us 214-865-6710 or get in touch with us via email. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have questions, if this video has been helpful, please share, please comment. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lori.
Thanks, Shahidra.